We just paint a clear picture. Don't mind us. Surfing the wave and then Mortal Kombat. What picture do you see, my love? What picture do you see coming clear as we, get our sight back? Because they did a whole lot of jam up Jones while we were asleep. Now you see real ones popping off all over the place, man. Kwame Brown's over there. He got his full Dracan fiends on their head bone, man. Goodness gracious. Everybody being lit up, man, by this Dracan fire so we can see clearly. Hey, man, I'm riding that wave, man. Hey, we surfing that wave and the wave of reality over here. Like, wow. So we got 15, 16 Cuban resources, the wealth of Mexico. Alright, that pays for this northward and southward extension of exploration and gave some backing to the colonization of Panama. Alright, then 10 years later or so, you got the conquest of Peru. And then it says, thus one after another, Caribbean and American locales were raided. Caribbean and American homes, Caribbean and American Nagas. American Nagas were invaded, raided. Nagas. American Nagas were invaded, raided, and drained of their wealth. Now we in the hoods and the ghettos, acting like of their wealth. Now we in the hoods and the ghettos, acting like, we get money, we act like it's new to us, when it's never been new. They drained the Naga's wealth. You know what it's like to wake up wealthy? Not rich, wealthy. You know what it's like to wake up with so much that you just can't get rid of it? In a Naga's mind, we just said, man, we got so much land and gold. You see how they pulling out 6 tons of gold per year? That's just in Haiti. I mean, just imagine everywhere, man. Come on, man. I mean, when you got it all, when you got generational wealth, you feel like nothing can take it away. And then Hawa says, man, I'm going to make you say one day that, yeah, I am the Lord, right? Hawa is Hawa. I am that I am, because we never thought all this could be taken away from us. Hawa had to humble us and would say, yeah, you are Hawa. Allah Hawa, because we just got a real wakey, you know what I'm saying? We never thought it could be taken away. We never thought our titles could be taken away. We never thought anybody could fade us. We never thought, you know what I mean? But Psalms 83, Confederacy, so that the name of Israel is remembered no more. Drained of their wealth, a portion which was divided among the crown, the conquistadors, and those who provided the conquistadors financial support, while the rest was used to mount further depredations. By and large, the Spanish were uninterested in building New World colonial societies, but rather in draining the New World of its wealth. Well, really? What do you think the colonial societies would be doing? Either way, they're going to be leeching on the Naga. Either way, they're going to be vanquishing and stealing all the Naga's movable and immovable goods. Papal Bull, Doom Diversus 1452. Goods, Papal Bull, Doom Diversus 1452. They took your movable and immovable goods. That includes your gold, includes your things, includes your stuff, man. We get our stuff back. Where's my staff, man? Let's go. Indeed, notes Davis, by the 1570s, the investment movement had been reversed, and returning colonists were investing capital accumulated in America Now Spain has an enterprise that's built on the gold of Cuba, that's built on the gold of Mexico, that's built on the gold of Haiti, and all throughout the Caribbean, all the family. The first waves of Spanish violence denuded the Caribbean of its wealth in gold, and as we saw earlier, of its wealth in people as well. Once the islands were thus made barren, the Spanish found goals to pursue elsewhere and moved on. Like conquering the promised land. There were about 8,000 Spaniards living on Hispaniola in 1509, for instance, forcing the few surviving Indians to produce the remaining dregs of gold that the white man hungered for. But within a decade, only a few hundred Spaniards remained to begin slowly building sugar plantations on the backs of growing numbers of imported African slaves. Stop! So these same Spaniards, after taking all the gold, they say, now they got a little bit left. They got the Nagas mining that for these whites now, right? But within a decade, only a few hundred Spaniards remained to begin slowly building sugar plantations. Okay. Begin building sugar plantations. I just want to think about that. Because from my recollection, last time that I checked, these hijacks coming off the boat, according to the story, they couldn't farm. They had to be taught how to farm, right? So any type of sugar plantation, so-called, that you find, any type of crops you find, must have already been here. Or, you know what I'm saying, you do know how to cultivate something, you know, brothers that look like us, that aren't us, but they look like us, maybe they do, and they just, you know, started commandeering all these Nagas' homes and turning them into plantations. Or they found you and just turned you into a slave on your own land and made you pick the cotton and the sugar and everything else that you was already cultivating. I mean, which one do y'all think, you know, jives with the story, the real story? But we know it's not on the backs of the imported African slaves when it was on the backs of the Nagas already here. Not only had the island's gold supply been depleted and its millions of native people effectively exterminated by then, but most of those who had done the exterminating had left for richer fields of exploitation. Davis describes well the pattern that was repeated for decades still to come. Put it this way. Many of the early conquistadors shared in the gold finds, from the small ones in the islands to the hoard in the treasure house in Atahualpa. The astounded Pizarro's followers in 1533. So, man, they found a bunch of gold in 1533 that astounded them. Yet these hoards were quickly distributed, and when the king's share and the leaders' big portions had been taken out, few rank-and-file soldiers secured enough to take home to the longed-for life of luxurious idleness in Castile. The followers and hangers-on of the conquistadors' restless and unreliable material for permanent colonial settlements were therefore constantly on the move to seek fresh opportunities of fortune. The opening of Cuba rapidly drained Hispaniola of most of its Spanish population after 1513. News of the entry to the mainland accelerated this exodus after 1517, and it turned into a stampede from all the island settlements when Cortez secured a firm grip on the Aztec Empire in 1521. again, they got the gold and moved on to the actual mission at hand, my nigga, which was to get America, man, to get the promised land. Because, hey, hindsight's 2020. I mean, look at where you at now, or you always been here, but look at where they're at now. And now they just blend in. They call themselves Americans. They got all these riches from them, from what I'm saying. The Naga's already here, all these riches from the Naga's already holding down, what I'm saying, Kalelus. And they take them riches, turn it into all these fancy areas today, and, have all these fancy homes and all this stuff. And you're like, how did you come up like this? Because of business? How did you even get in that business? How did you become such oil typhoons and all this stuff? Because of this time period. This is how they came up. They had nothing until they found you. They had nothing, my naga, until they found you. Until Cortez secured a firm grip on the Aztecs. Ute Aztec, we're talking Judah. Mexico. Meshi. But the palace and the temple hordes of Tenochtitlan were not adequate to satisfy the cravings of all the Spaniards who followed Cortez. Large numbers of them pushed on under other leaders into the jungles that separated Mexico from the little colony of the Panama Isthmus over vast desert plateaus towards California, south to Colombia, where gold mines were found by Quesada in 1537, and above all after 1532 to the new Bonanza in Peru. Every township established by the Spaniards in Mexico, with the exception of Mexico City and perhaps Veracruz, lost most of its Spanish population within a few years of its foundation. During these years, and especially after the Inca fabulous, quote, silver mountain of Potosi, P-O-T-O-S-I, was discovered by the Spanish and converted through the importation of forced Indian mine labor into the most populous, quote, city in the entire Spanish Empire. Vast sums of wealth flowed back to Spain from the Americas. So they drained the Naga to form their world. You ever see, Transformers? I don't know if it's part 1 or something, but, Krypton, not Krypton, that's Superman Transformers. Whatever the other planet is, it has to, destroy the earth, has to drain the earth of its resources, drain the earth of its life force, just for it to form. It has to drain your world for them to form their world, right? Same thing today with all this tenderoni. They got to shatter your world to form a new world, right? Out of chaos comes order, new world, right? How many of your worlds have been destroyed? And what does it take to rebuild? And Hawa says, once we KTC, we back.